Yeah, so it's interesting because this is an out of body experience, but this is also biolocation.
Yes.
Sounds very yogi-esque. A lot of yogis are known for that power to be able to biolocate themselves while they're
Hmm.
meditative state,
Hmm.
to be across town, another part of the
Right.
world, anywhere you want, you could project yourself. As you were going through all of this experiences, the out of body, and I'm assuming the psychic abilities, you saying that you were seeing ghosts, and
Hmm.
so now you're a medium as well. So now you're a psychic out of body medium, near death experiencer. I'm just checking off the credentials as we go through this, as I'm unpacking this, Scarlett. So now
Okay.
you're a medium too. So you're seeing how old were you when you started seeing spirit in, in
Right after
oh,
4.
okay.
Yeah.
No, but
But
and there's
they,
nobody around you that's can guide you through this.
no, it was terrifying. And lots of times I saw just scary faces. I didn't even know who they were. And this would happen at bedtime and in the dark. So I was scared of the dark. And, that's one of the things I look back on and realize that no one told me I could say no or tell them to go away or put up a shield.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no one knew this because, again, what do you say? I saw these scary faces. Oh, well, you're just whatever. It's always dismissed, but it wasn't dismissive in my mind because I was frightened. And then when someone in our family would die
Mm.
and I'd have a visit, that was frightening. Um, so these weren't things I sought out. I had never been one to seek out or um, but because I had that unusual sensitivity, and a lot of times it was in that either unconscious state, they did contact through dreams, or in a conscious state when I was partially falling asleep. But the awareness is so shifted that it's not a dream. It's very different from that. And and then I had the telephone call from a deceased relative in a time when this was before that was even discussed. This was in the 70s. Would you like to hear a little more about that?
Jeez, yes.
Okay. Well, my aunt, my mother's only sister, who was significantly older than her and was more like a mother figure, died at 50 years old. And this was in 1975. And my mother was just heartbroken. And mom just took it so bad. She went into a terrible depression. It was very sudden. Her sister had breast cancer that was diagnosed too late. And back then in the mid 70s, treatments weren't very advanced. And it was just boom, diagnosis, and then she's gone. And my mother, um, again, just went into this terrible spiral. So one night I had a dream that my aunt was there, and this was just days after she'd passed. And she was standing there and she didn't look good. She looked scary to me. Um, Kind of like maybe she was decaying in their physical form. And this is again horrifying. But she was saying, please tell your mother to stop grieving. She's holding me back. And that was the message. And I woke up from that with heart pounding, feeling frightened. And why would I see my aunt looking like this? Because most of the spirits, either, even if they look scary, it wasn't like a physical decomp. And that's what it was looking like.
It wasn't Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No. So later I learned more about why that happened in the etheric body. When it shows up, it may look like it as it's piecing out from the physical existence to whatever the spiritual etheric space. But that's how she appeared to me. And again, it was not a good thing in terms of my response. I was frightened. But I did share the message with my mother. And then my grandmother, her mother, told her too that later that week she also had a visit from my aunt in her bedroom where she saw my aunt looking okay, but the same message. And grandma was wide awake. And she said, she came to me and said to tell you, please, to stop grieving. You're holding her back. So grandma was sensitive. She was a Pennsylvania Dutch woman. She was very tough, but she had that Pennsylvania Dutch. She'd grown up with a powwower, which is the term that the healing terms that the Pennsylvania Dutch use, and we can get into all that later. But So there was an awareness and understanding that, things can happen outside of the normal realms. So, so when my aunt showed up and grandma told my mother that, mom still could not get out of her depression. So about a few months later, I was at home, and this again was 1975. Back then, they had the rotary dial phones that plugged in.
I know.
So no one even knows what that looks like anymore. But that's what we had, and we lived in the country at that time, and which meant we were on a party line, meaning you could share the phone with anybody could kind of listen in unless the people who operated the phone kind of cut it off. So, and sometimes connections weren't as robust as you would like. Anyway, but it was the middle of the day. I'd just gotten home from school, late afternoon, and I was home by myself, and the phone rang. So I picked it up, and I hear this crackling on the phone line, like static, crackly. And then I heard my aunt say my name, and I recognized her voice even through the crackle. And I said, Aunt, her name is Marguerite. I said, Aunt Marguerite? And she said, Hi, honey. And I said, Aunt Marguerite, you're dead. She said, I know. Crackle, crackle. Please tell your mother to stop grieving. She's holding me back. Well, I can't tell you the line wasn't dead, because what happened was I slammed the phone down. I was so freaked out. I had goosebumps. My whole body was chilled because, again, electrostatic reaction, magnetic, whatever it is, with that kind of contact with another realm. But I'm not parsing that out in my brain. I'm just having the experience. I'm a teenager. I'm scared. I'm having a phone call from my dead aunt. How in the middle of the afternoon, I'm not asleep. This is not a dream. And I ran outside, pointless. I mean, it's not like her spirit was going to chase me, but it was just a panicked reaction. I had never at that time heard of phone calls from a deceased relative. I didn't even know that was even possible. Now you see all the books about it, and so it's all all in, but not back then.
So the phone line didn't go dead. It was dead originally. But anyway, sorry, that's bad joke.
Yeah.
But so with all of this stuff happening to you at this age, and now you're a teenager, and this is weird stuff seems to have been going on with you
Mhm.
again and again. Um, how did you psychologically start to process this? Because this
Well, I started,
take a toll because there's no one guiding you. I've heard people go through this, but then the grandma comes in or mom comes in. Oh, you've got the gift now. Oh, this happened to your grand. Like it doesn't seem like any of that has ever happened to you. So you had to deal with this and also be dealing with being a teenager.
right.
Own thing itself.
And growing up in the turbulent home. So, one of the things that I always considered my saving grace was a desire to learn. And so I would try to read, research, find everything I could about what was happening. And in the mid 70s, that's when UVA had started the work with Dr. Ian Stevenson doing research into reincarnation. And also at Duke University, J.B. Rhine had started the whole thing, and I think that was in the 70s or 80s. I'm trying to no, it was the 70s. So again, trying to understand what they called parapsychology, and so I began to learn more about this, and learned that, for example, when they would use like the Zener cards or whatever, I'm not any good at that kind of thing. What I did do was I volunteered at a crisis center, an after school center. I did after school tutoring. I was a teen counselor for peer groups. So I tried to do things that were helpful. And at the center where I volunteered, there was a man there who was a retired engineer who was very interested in all the work that Stanford was doing in remote viewing at that time. And so we would do remote viewing experiments to try to see if we could locate runaway children. And so I'm not an artist, so we would try. But what I could do was kind of get a sense of the children's feelings. And so I'd send them a message to call, come home. And we began to have some responses. Now, again, it could have been unrelated, but kids started calling home shortly after we were trying to contact them remotely. So, and that was, again, as a teenager, to me, that was trying to help and heal.
To watch the full video, click on the link below and don't forget to subscribe.